deliver the news to your door. Breaking news, top headlines, the big story, the latest update, and all you need to know are only available on the African Actions Network, 2A Radio and TV. The only independent and balanced online news network. Broadcasting from
Hello, everybody. This is the African Actions Network radio and television station. I'm James Jensen, and I have with me two distinguished individuals today who will join us in discussing Liberia. Specifically, we want to talk about Liberia's election, absentee balloting, and electoral district demarcation. What will the court say, assuming that the election comes and go, and that there are problems, noting that absentee balloting should have been considered as per the Constitution of Liberia, and electoral demarcation should have been upheld, meaning respected as per the constitutional provision after the census, and those two major issues of constitutional provisions were not respected. So we asked the question, why, if election is held tomorrow, October 10, on the second Tuesday, and that there is a total disagreement with the election results. And when people go to court, what will the court say? So these are the issues we want to talk about today. But again, until then, let me invite my distinguished guests. We'll start with Dr. Gopo first. Dr. Gopo, how are you? Introduce yourself and give us our opening statement.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to be here to discuss these relevant topics. My name is George Gunpu. I am leader of the African Democratic Movement of Liberia. I am an aspirant for the presidency in the upcoming elections. And I am an economist. I've worked in the Liberian government for some time. And I've worked in civil society. And I'm currently working as an economics professor. And I'm happy to be here to participate in the discussions.
Thank you so much. Mr. Numo?
Well, I'm George Numbo. Many back home know me from the General Auditing Commission as the COO. Currently, my family and I now live here in Philadelphia. I'm environmental engineer for the city of Philadelphia. And that's me.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining us at this hour, and we want to go straight into our discussion. But until then, let me ask the two of you. Liberia has a very strong tie with the United States government, and that historical tie should be respected every time we see a senior government official visiting Africa. As we speak, the Vice President, Kamala Harris, is in Ghana. Or she, I don't know whether she has left right now, but she has visited Ghana. Why not Liberia? Why will the Vice President of the United States go to Africa and close to Liberia and cannot go to Liberia? Why? We want to start with you, Mr. Numo.
Well, okay. Yes, I can start.
Yeah.
Why Liberia?
Why not Liberia?
Bill Clinton went to Africa and started from Ghana. Why not Liberia? George Bush went to Liberia, went to Tanzania, carried a package for Tanzania, but because of our corruption, the books that George Bush promised Liberia sent the books, and the books got rotting at the port of at the free port of Monrovia. So if we do not value democracy, if we practice corruption at the highest, why should these people go to us? So no, I feel that's why the the VP did not go to Liberia. We have closer ties with America than than Ghana. I would like to say that. But we are these days we are more closer to corruption than to the USA. So I believe that is the reason why the VP went to Ghana. If we want if we want her to come to Liberia, we have to change the way we do things in government. Thank you.
Dr. Gompo, before you answer this question, recently there was All African Summit that was held in Washington, D.C. African leaders had the opportunity to sit with the world president, Joe Biden. It said that our leadership did not make a case that would have urged the US government to visit Liberia. Why Ghana and not Liberia, Dr. Gopu?
Yeah, I think that it may not be because the government did not make a case, but the U.S. usually take these opportunities to reward countries that are making progress in terms of their political environment, their democratic credentials, their economic progress, and the kinds of policies that are similar to advancing human rights, which is part of the U.S. Foreign policy. So I think they make it their duty to prioritize countries that are making progress. They want to be associated with winners.
Okay.
So Liberia is not considered among the countries that are making significant progress at this moment. And so I would not expect the Biden administration to put Liberia on such a list, because these visits are considered to be rewards, are considered to be an opportunity to engage, an opportunity to congratulate for progress made, and also to give insights into how additional progress can be made. So when you have Liberia in a situation where it is being ranked among the countries with the worst cases of corruption, then there are issues of violence, then there are issues of security risk, and there are issues of elections that are around the corner, and oh my God.
Well, Dr. Gopu is in speech, whatever that is happening at his end. We want to say this is the African Actions Network. We are here to discuss the issues that matter to Liberia and to Liberians. So we are concerned about the vice president of the United States visiting Ghana and not Liberia, not just a side comment, and then we look strictly into elections. Mr. Nomo, I just before Dr. Gopu comes on and continue his speech. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, but you're in the backstage, Mr. Nomo. We want to see you.
I don't know how I got there.
Okay, please adjust yourself. Okay, so as we said, this is the African Actions Network. We are glad to be here today. If you're joining us, just do us a favor, share the video, and make a comment. We will be glad to read your comment on this platform. Mr. Nomad, I don't know whether you can be talking while you're adjusting your camera. Your camera is at the backstage. We want to see how you can adjust that. But
Oh, I don't, I'm not sure if okay, hold on. I don't know how the camera went off.
you have, okay,
Okay,
all right.
yeah.
Okay, you're good. Right. So we want the question was asking Mr. that the couple was that because let's say for example, you George Number, you're president of Liberia, and you had an opportunity to sit with another leader. Why that may not be the factor, we don't know the reason why the vice president is visiting Ghana and not Liberia, but we must discuss it because as a nation, as you know, America being what I would describe as a founding member or those who founded Liberia came from the United States. So because of that colonial tie, now that would be another debate. I'm careful with some of these words. So you're going to have people talking about Liberia and America tie. They are very, very close in terms of the history they had. Look at the flag, you look at the historical origin of Liberia. One would wonder why would the vice president not visit Liberia even for an hour? And that the government started saying some things that probably because of, and you started it, corruption, uh, bad human rights record, and insecurity. I mean, a lot of, recently, in fact, one of the senior officials of government, past official of government, was involved in a child was killed. So probably with all of these records, that the government thinks that America doesn't want to reward Liberia. But I'm concerned on the other side. Let us assume that George Weah did make a very good case that would have moved the president of the United States, despite all of the records. I'm sure there would have been a government policy that would make the vice president visit Liberia. Is there any other thought?
Well, he had 5 years to do that. But what he did, the partners, international partners, money that is sent to help people in villages, pregnant women, you name it, they stole the money. Even the road fund, that for every gallon you collect 30 cents and US will match it. They ate our money. Almost every day people are dying. And oh, there is nobody on the ground to talk because it's not to say they don't know how to talk because they fear the government, they fear that the government will target them. So with all these things going on, the U.S. will not allow the vice president to stop in Liberia.
Okay,
That
Mr.
is,
Numa, I will come to you. Dr.
yeah.
Gopu, you were in speech when the camera went off.
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
It's
There
good.
was a technical issue, I think.
I get you.
Yeah, so I think I agree with Mr. Numbo that Liberia, the signals coming from Liberia are not very positive, even though the government may try to spin it to say that things are great, they're doing so well, they're on their way to re-election, all of that. But just by reading the dots and trying to connect the dots, it's clear that Liberia is a long way from being among the best performing governments in Africa. So I would not expect the leadership of of the United States, including Kamala Harris, to go to Liberia at this time to be among those countries. And also remember that it's election season, and even if there was a need to go there, and if the vice president went there now on a state visit, that would not really be good for the
right, for
the
a free,
election.
fair
Yeah,
election.
it would not be good for elections because the
that would have boosted the morale of
the ruling party
government.
would say, you see, I mean, everything is fine, and you see, we're being approved by the United States, and that's why we are getting this kind of recognition. You see, and then the opposition would say this is foul because how can we be in this type of situation?
So can we say then the failure of the U.S. Vice President to visit Liberia is a plus for the opposition?
Well, you know, I would not want to put it that way. The thing is, let the election be fair. Let it be transparent. Let it be competitive. Recall that when George Bush went to Liberia, I think that visit was in the second term, if I'm not mistaken. Was it? Okay, I don't think that visit was in the first term. Was it in the first term or the second term?
I think it was in the first term.
Was in the first term?
Yes.
Okay, so then maybe it was immediately after Taylor departure.
Yes.
Right.
And maybe since he played a principal role in pushing Taylor out, he wanted to celebrate. Maybe.
Yes.
You know.
Okay.
So yeah. Okay. So these things can be interpreted as serving the ruling regime. So I don't think it would be a good thing for the American government to do that now, while at the same time sanctioning the Minister of State, sanctioning the Justice Department, Second Command, sanctioning the leader of the National Port Authority. And that's me. They've declared the whole. In effect, the government is under sanction. You see, so to do that, tell the citizens that they should be cautious in their dealings with these people. Now, at the same time, go there for a state visit. And one question you should be asking too is, how many state visits has the government received from any leading African leader in the last 3 years? Has there been any state visit from any African president?
I think was it the Ivorian president? Did he have, anyway, I can't remember that. I don't want to mislead anyone on this show. Well, that was just a teaser, right, for our discussion. So let's go strictly into our discussion today. We will find out before the show ends to know which of the state leader, if any, has visited.
Yeah, so I think it's a good topic. It's a relevant question, but it appears to me like George Weah is not getting other presidents coming to Liberia to visit. Neither is he getting invitation to pay state visits, to have state visit to any other countries, to the best of my knowledge.
One thing I will add to the two of you is that a comment of two of you is that if at the African summit, the All African Summit that was held, the Ghana president's address, if you ever listen to him, that speech was something that could have moved the U.S. government. But that's just a side comment. Let's go straight into our issue. Now, election is coming, Mr. Nomo. Biometric voting or registration is ongoing. Some of us who don't know about computer, you want us to get on and log in and do our registration. How many Liberians can do that? How do you look at the biometric system?
Well, The biometric system is good for Liberia, but registering at NEC website and taking the QR code or to NEC to just take your picture and your fingerprint would be very disastrous because we do not have record. We do not have social security numbers. We do not have a valid driver license system in the country. You can send somebody to the a new driver can send somebody to the postal ministry
Your
to
first lady behind you.
the pool. Cut it off. Cut it off. I would deal with it later on. At the postal affairs, no, not postal, transport ministry to get driver's license for somebody who is not present. So you cannot rely on that. If they were telling us that the only people who would be allowed to register on our website are people who already have voter registration cards, because you punch in the information, it will ask you for your voter registration card number. You punch that in, and when you go to the voter registration center to register, the first thing they will ask for is your your previous voter registration card. I mean, but they are not doing that. And I feel that by the time this voter registration ends, we all need to get in one room and declare victory for George Weah. Because
Again,
somebody,
Mr. Nomo, we have to be clear here because from what you are saying, can't we trust the final voter registration rule for elections?
you cannot trust it because of these people that go on a website and register. You cannot trust it because they have no. Here you can register online in the US.
Right,
You
right,
can
right.
register online, but the people have a month or so, the election authority of your state or your district, to verify, if you are the real George Numbo who registered before, or if you are the James Jensen who registered before, or who is trying to register, because they have a social security number attached to me, they have a social security number attached to you, they have driver's license number attached to me, they have it attached to you. But we don't have that in Liberia. So if we only go by the previous voter registration card, that would be good. But
All right.
not going by that, I mean, we are joking.
Okay, because honestly, Dr. Gopo, you are
Yeah.
participating into elections. I'm wondering, politicians like you, whether you are actually looking at this biometric voter registration exercise that's ongoing. Now, you heard from George Numbo. For him, being a computer person, he's telling us now that the final voter roll that will come out of this who is participating into this election.
So the biometric system is supposed to improve the record keeping system, and it's supposed to be able to match the registrant to the voter, or the registration document to the voter. And from what I saw, And talking to a number of people, this could be an improvement in the sense that you do the online voter registration, and then you get a QR code, and then you have to go in. Then you go into the registration center. And when you get to the registration center, they bring up the QR code, and then they take your fingerprint to match it, to add it to that QR code and all the information you put in before. And knowing that no two people have the same fingerprint, it means that the accuracy of the information in the system to the person voting should match. And if that's the case, and they do not allow other people who are not qualified to go and get on the voter's roll through that same process, then it will bring some improvement in the system, provided nothing else is done in the back door. Because I mean, there could still be possibility for cheating, but I think this doing it with a biometric system and the way they're doing it now could help to reduce that possibility. Yeah, because think about the passport system that we have now, the ECOWAS passport. We don't have social security number, but the ECOWAS passport is biometric. Because, in addition to taking your picture and taking your information, they also take fingerprints. And that passport is supposed to have better security compared to the one we had before. Even though that system had been infiltrated because the last time they had a passport scandal. In other words, the authorities could allow unqualified people to come and get in the database. That is a possibility, right? That is a possibility. But then not only do they can you hear me? Can you all hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, okay. So not only do they all not only do you have to be a real person, but your record also has to match what is in the system. So I think we now have to find a way to keep an eye on the authorities to make sure that those people who will be voting on voting day will be people who are in those constituencies that were registered. In other words, suppose we go now, we're using this biometric system, and say we go to district number 3 in Massarado County, and 15,000 people showed up and register. Okay, now when the registration list comes out, suppose we end up with 20,000 people on that list. So there's a 5,000 gap right there. So how did those people get in, and when did they get in? So I think those are some of the areas we need to be checking.
But let me ask a question. Maybe Mr. Nomo can, Mr. Nomo, your answers are coming. But let me ask this. Okay. Let us assume like you have one James Jensen. Yeah, they say you're giving us bar water here.
Yeah, bar water.
Yeah. Let me ask this common question in my mind. You have James Jensen has registered. He got his fingerprint. But on the date of election, probably you have 2 or 3 James Jensen appearing with a barcode or maybe with some fingerprint that you can see. How can you verify that?
Okay, so 3 James Jensen register.
Yeah, right. And now
so nobody can vote for you if the system works correctly because nobody has your fingerprint. to that other Jane Jensen.
So how would you verify? You think Election Commission get a means of on-the-spot verification?
Oh,
Because
they're
we have
supposed
seen that's
to.
one common issue that
Yeah.
happened during election day in Liberia.
They're
Yeah,
supposed
no.
to because Jane Jensen #1 has a unique fingerprint than
Right.
Jane Jensen #2.
Okay.
Right?
But physically, you can't identify the fingerprint.
Huh?
Physically, you cannot identify my. You will see a fingerprint, but you will not be able to identify to know whether it's my fingerprint or not. Correct?
Well, I mean, I think that if let's say you go in and say you're Jane Jensen, anyway, maybe Nubo can speak to this more.
Okay.
But
So
if you
Nubo,
go in and say you are Jane
Okay.
Jensen,
I
do you
mean,
then
agree? Do you agree with that?
then they have to then copy your fingerprint, right?
Okay.
And that if they then take a copy of your fingerprint and it doesn't match the data for Jane Jensen, then you can't vote as Jane Jensen.
Maybe I'm so ignorant to this fingerprint. Mr. Numo.
yeah.
But a couple disagree with you that, I mean, to some extent,
Yes.
this will minimize some of the problem we have had in the past.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
I am not against biometric election.
Right.
3 or 4 years ago, I had a discussion with Jimmy Flumia discussing the biometric election. And he opposed it then, but he supports it now. But the reason I was smiling is that the election commission, maybe our people did not understand them, or maybe they misinformed them. I watched the video when they went to the House of Representatives. The system is not interconnected. So if they take your fingerprint in Monrovia, you can go to Kakata and they take your fingerprint and nobody will know it because they are not interconnected. They say it that at this center here, you register and you come back to re-register, we know it. But if you go to a different center, we know it, we get to know it in the long run. That's what they said. That video, I have it on my Facebook timeline. I think I sent it to Dr. Gumpu. They told us you can register in Monrovia and go to Carisburg, register, go to Kakata and register because the system, on that same day, the systems are not interconnected.
But how many systems do we have? I didn't see that information. How many systems do we have? It's supposed to be one system, right?
One system, but they at this center here, let's say let me name the heart center.
Let's say
Oro
District
Center.
10.
Hold on.
District
Oro
10.
Center, District 10. You go there, I go there, I register. And then I leave from there and go to West Point District the same day. I register. The West Point District people will not know that I've already registered at Oro Center because they don't have the connectivity.
Okay.
But if I go and register again at the Oro Center, District 10, for the second time, they will know it.
Mr. Numo, I think what I'm understanding.
That is the major problem we have. Problem number 2 is that I want for us to use the previous voter registration cards when we go online to register at a net website, because those people are already known as registered voters. But now me, George Nubo, coming from Taboo and say, oh, my father and I John Yema from a village.
Mr. Numo, I think what I'm getting, I mean, I'm trying to figure out.
Yes.
That makes a lot of sense to me. That a couple, maybe you can give us a take later. Because those who want to really truck voters,
yes,
they are smarter. They are calculating all of these factors that are interplaying.
Yeah.
Now, like what George Numo said, if that is true, I could gather in the morning and do my registration. Let's assume I'm in District 10 and do my registration. Then I take a car and go to Bomi because maybe I have a contract to go to Bomi. So I go to Bomi and then I do my registration. What George Numo is saying, in that time period, they will not get to know whether I have registered earlier and then going to another center to register. Now, the issue is, Mr. Number, I don't know whether you know that for a fact. Don't you think there's a software? By the time you registered and you put your name in the system, if you were to register twice or 3 different times, the software would have rejected you?
When you go, for example, when you go online and register and give you the QR code, the QR code is not in the NEC system. You have to print it out or you take your phone to NEC for NEC to retrieve the information from the code. If the whole system would NEC work, I mean, they could, they would not ask you for the QR code. They will ask you for your name.
But again, Mr. Number, just a point. I think at NEC will be able to identify or avoid someone registering more than 2-3 times because of the same QR code being requested.
They say they are going to get to know it in the long run.
Oh no, I don't want to hear that word.
At this center, you cannot register twice. I mean, I don't think they did it, intentionally. It looked like it was a slip. But
it's a sensitive issue.
Yeah, it was a slip. Because they were trying to present the system as a perfect system. I mean, I like the system, but registering online without any valid document that will authenticate you, I mean, that's what I have problem with.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
a couple.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I would be surprised if they develop a system that will not be integrated across the nation.
Okay.
And so basically, are you suggesting that the data coming from a particular center is just kept in one separate file, and the data kept coming from another center is kept in a separate file? It's only later on that we integrate the files.
Yes.
Okay. So then if that is the situation, if that's the case, then with the fingerprint, if they do their work right, they should be able to sort things out. So in other words, if John Brown registered 5 times, John Brown number 1, John Brown number 2, John Brown number 3 is just one person. So basically, you will only see one set of fingerprint for that person, because if John Brown put his fingerprint in Maserado County District number 1, then he goes to Kakata District number 2 and register that under a different name. It's the same person. It's just one voter. So then you should have, the software should be able to identify that this person is just one person. And so you can clean it out.
I'm not cutting you off. Let me say this. I think that is a source of conflict, because even if you went and identify a person, now let's say James Jensen number 1, number 2, number 3, in the final analysis, you were able to identify James Jensen number 1 through my fingerprint in the system. Now, the timing and the number of persons involved, you might just disqualify some persons as a result of these. I mean, if these things are not really integrated at a particular point in time, the time interval is not a thing that could happen.
Well, the thing is, the voter registration is supposed to end when? May 11, right? May 11. So between May 11 and June 11 and April and July 11, you got 60 days there to go and look at that data, right? To look at cleaning things out, because clearly, even if the system is working, there will be some people who will challenge the system to see whether the system is actually working. They will go and register multiple times. So if you don't take time to go and clean out that system, so that when you have one person registering under multiple names in multiple places, you can be able to recognize that it's only one person, and maybe take some legal action to prosecute that person or to find out why. Then I think it will be your fault. It will be your own incompetence. You cannot say, well, because you've done
Okay. We have spent a lot of time. I know this is a very hot issue, and Mr. Nomo, I think that's a very sensitive thing. I didn't get that earlier. It would have been better to have an integrated system, nationwide integrated system. That, for me, for my common computer understanding, that would have been the best. But like why it is said in a separate file, let's say every district separate file, just a lot of issues in there. So we will definitely keep looking at it. And you politicians, especially presidential candidates, I think it's just that you in an advanced society, I think you should find some serial computer analyst to be able to look at this situation very well and be able to give you an advice. It's better to challenge the system now, than after the process and say you want to go challenge, people.
No,
So
clearly, long before election day, we have to look at that data. We have to, send representatives in to really verify that voter roll. Look at the software and see what exactly is happening. I've been told that they have a company out of Netherlands, and they are providing the software services. So some of the people are saying that the company knows that its reputation is on the line, and that they will try as much as possible.
You guys are doing well, but like for example, that couple, you guys are doing extremely well, and I know why it takes a lot of money involved. You guys that we want to become leaders, you guys are spending so much. You have a lot of talks, a lot of things to analyze, but this is a very serious issue, and in fact, Liberians, the data of Liberians should be concerned to legislators. Like now we are in America, they are discussing TikTok, right? Believe that Chinese can easily access, the data of Americans. So much more to talk about this voter registration, and even getting whatever software or biometric, whatever it is, you leaders. In fact, there should have been something that even opposition political parties should have had a team of computer analysts that would have gone in there and be able. There's a national issue. It doesn't mean you oppose the National Elections Commission, but you must be able to sit with the commission and reason together and tell them, say, hey, this is not right. If you do it this way, you will fail. And that would be a mess for the country to help a system. But if everybody will wait until the process go through, and then you want to start challenge the process, sometimes the court is looking at the Constitution, looking at the problems, and they say, you know what, we can't go back on this. So they say,
let me say this too, because I observe, the system at work.
Okay.
And so it's a different thing than when you just, read about it or hear about it.
Right. I get you.
Okay, so when you look at the number of people registering, it's a very small percentage of the voters that are registering through that online process. Very small percentage. You have to have a smartphone in order for you to even participate in that whole online registration system. Okay. Yeah. So what percentage of the population over there has smartphone?
May I tell you?
Yeah, but no, just a second.
That percentage, even in Monrovia, is very small. And as you leave Monrovia and you go into the rural area, I don't think you're going to find, even 2% of the people holding smartphone.
But why we introduce something where
is what?
Why would you introduce something like that where the majority of the population? I'm not talking
about it's an option. It is an option. It is an option.
Okay.
It is an option. It's not a requirement.
Okay.
When
Okay,
you
that's good.
use the online voter registration to collect your data before you go to election commission, your processing is done much faster.
That's faster. Okay.
If you
Thank
go,
you so
if you
much.
decide not to use it and go in there, then they're going to keep you in there, and you will have to fill in the form step by step, give your name,
Okay.
give everything, what
Right.
have you. But if you do it online before you go, as soon
Okay.
as that QR code is brought up, they got the data right away. So everything
Okay.
is already there. And then
I guess there's
then
something
all
that
you
we
need to do
probably
now is
don't
just
know,
take your
Mr.
picture.
Nomo. Okay, thank you, Dad.
Well,
Mr. Nomo.
yes. I mean, I have said it repeatedly that a QR code system, if it is restricted to people who are already registered voters who have their voter registration, if the system can ask you about your voter registration number, that is perfect. Now, Dr. Gompu is saying that we have a lot of time between the time the voter registration is over
Yeah, May 11th to
to
June, something like that.
to to June,
Yeah,
but that is after the fact.
I will agree
After
with
the
you.
damage is already done. There is a reason why they introduced this thing here that they call the election commission called innovative. Liberians do not have many Liberians do not have smartphones, but the government in power, they have smartphone. I, George Numbo, can sit down in Painesville or Zuba Town or Wayne Town and register 200 people.
Right, right. That's
Yeah,
so true.
register
Right.
200 people. And if even they duplicate registration or that Gumpu is doubting, I can go to Monrovia now and say I'm George Nyima. And then when election or registration open in Maryland, I can go there and say I'm George Numbo. They will not catch that.
Why?
They will not catch it because the systems are not interconnected. They will not catch it. So that is the problem. If
Okay.
let's say
Okay.
you are in Monrovia, like we are networked right here. You're in
Right.
Monrovia, you register, and I'm in Kakata, I register. That thing is in the same system. That is reliable, but it is not so. At the
Okay.
end
I
of the
mean,
at the end of the day, in District 10, they
mm,
they, they pack their things and all their fingerprints, all everything in that their low thing. Tomorrow they come back and do it. And people in Bannersville doing different things. They are not District 10 and Bannersville, they are not interconnected. That is what I'm saying. The
okay.
election
Okay.
commission,
Okay.
I want to quote them. They said it.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Mr. Nomo.
I think the thing to do now with that discovery is to have some kind of independent review of what
Right.
they're
Right.
doing
Right.
Well,
Right.
and to make sure that it's consistent with
But
transparency.
who do you think should do that?
well,
That.
I contacted some guys on the ground, and they said they were working on a statement, and it has been over a week now. I've not seen the statement. Yeah,
Anyway, it's good that we having these discussions, and we hope that those who are participating in the elections will take this matter very seriously and not to wait until, like in George Number own words, after the fight, and then you want to raise an issue. That might be just something that even the court, let me say, we just say for expediency reason, we move ahead with elections.
yes,
Probably there's nothing else you can do. At the end of the day, that will not be the will of the people. All right. But let's move forward to our next issue. We want to look at this uh, electoral district demarcation. The census was conducted, and by law, the Constitution of Liberia, after every census, there must be electoral demarcation to know. I think it's 20,000, right? 20,000,
20,000. Yes,
20,000 per electoral district for a representative seat. Now, that is not happening in these elections or after the census. So that is something that could form part of a challenge to the court after elections. Because this is a constitutional mandate that is not being respected. Dr. Gumpo, are you wondering what will happen or what is happening with this electoral demarcation?
Yeah, I think that according to the Constitution, there should be demarcation before the voters' registration.
Right.
And that demarcation depends on the census result.
Right.
And what you have here is a situation where I think it's just a reflection of the level of incompetence
Okay.
and corruption in the ruling government, in the ruling party government. Because I think the election commission made its timetable assuming that the census would have been conducted smoothly long before the implementation of its timetable. And the census was delayed, and then the whole process was just very faulty. And then you had corruption issue, money getting missing, and the whole census has data that is not even being embraced by the country. See, the whole census and the census result is being challenged already. You see, so now if the election commission were to wait until that census data is sorted out and agreed, then there will be a constitutional crisis in terms of election not being held on time.
Okay.
On the other hand, if you go forward with your timetable, as the election commission is doing, to meet the constitutional guidelines for election October 10, then you have the problem with the demarcation not being done before that time.
Okay.
So it becomes becomes a very difficult issue. It's almost like the chicken and the egg. Which one is supposed to come first? So that's where we are. So we have to deal with the circumstances at the point where we are. I think the as I said, it's all connected to the incompetence, and it's also connected to the issue of corruption in the system, and that's part of the reason why the Liberian people will reject the CDC government bid for a second term, because
but there's a calculated, and like George Nemo is saying, all of those things were calculated because people knew that they had an obligation to conduct an elections. So then they knew that you have had a census. They knew that you have had electoral district demarcation. So all of those things were not done, like you say, is because of incompetence. And in your mind, you think that people are going to look at incompetence and reject the very people you say they are incompetent. But you look at it in a technical sense, all of the rigmarole will benefit quote unquote incompetent people, and the incompetent will remain in power. Are you not having some fear as a result of not having electoral demarcation that will work for them, not having census on time will work for them, and then election itself will just go on and people want to have it on time, and with all of these circumstances remaining, and then those circumstances will favor the ruling party, and the ruling party, quote unquote, incompetent will remain in power.
Well, I mean, what are our options?
Right.
What are our options? Our options
So, Number,
either to
hold on,
say
hold on. George, Number, you have an option. What will you advise? Let us assume you're supposed to advise the election commission today. What will you say to them?
If I was to advise the election commission, I would tell them to go ahead. We had census in 2008 in Liberia.
Okay.
My district had, I think, population of 43 or 47,000, Pliwo-Soroke district, we still have one representative. They wanted to go by the constitution or increase the threshold.
Right.
And
But the threshold was 20,000, so you should have had 2 representatives, right?
we should have had 2 representatives. But the issue was the people in the House or the government felt that they didn't have space for those people. And if they had increased it to, say, 40,000, Grand Crew was going to only have 1 representative. So do you know which counties got rewarded? Only Monserrato and Nimba County got rewarded. There were no threshold set, and meaning that we did not go by the Constitution in 2008. Now the next census was to be in 2018. We are 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, and 2022. We have census, and we say we should wait for demarcation census that is a fraud, and we say we should wait for demarcation before we register people to vote. No, I don't want to say it, but American people say hell no, hell no.
You don't want to say it, but you have said it. So,
so
okay.
We should not wait for demarcation, and it's a shame. I mean, the only county that did not grow in the census, the Maryland County, because it was calculated. Cummings, Alexander Cummings is from Maryland County, so the CDC government felt that if they quadruple or double the population of Maryland County, like Grand County, like Grand Crew, Cummings will have more votes. But that's the same who has gone to the Supreme Court to sue. So that's why I say it's very interesting.
Okay.
The politicians do not know what they are doing.
But
honestly,
do you think that that observation would undermine the CPP case?
My observation,
right?
Oh, but should I say I should be afraid because it will undermine the CPP case? No, I want something that is good for Liberia to be done for the whole nation.
Okay. All right. I mean, I think these are all fruitful discussions, and I hope some of the policymakers will, have an opportunity to have their say. But let's look at the issue of absentee balloting. I know most of us in the United States, the diaspora as a whole, this is something we wanted our cabinet general to be here. This is something that very dear to his heart. He believes that Liberians outside of Liberia should not be denied, to participate into elections in Liberia. And the absentee balloting as is stated in Article 80C, Liberians abroad should have an opportunity to participate into elections. That will not happen, or that is likely not to happen. What do you all think? Is it fair? Is it good? Is it one of those expediency issues that people should say, well, we have to proceed with elections? We can't tackle all of those problems at the same time. Dr. Gopo, do you want your Liberians overseas in the diaspora, your partisans, not partisans, your supporters, not to participate in the election as a result of not allowing? Let me read for you Article 80C.
No, I've read it. I know.
Okay, great. Okay, so yeah, what's your take?
Yeah, I think that my reading of that that article, which allows for Liberians to vote physically in person by secret ballot or
Right.
by absentee ballot.
Right.
I think it's an expression of aspiration, knowing that Liberia will continue to exist long into the future when it has the infrastructure capacity and the technological capacity to benefit from such absentee ballot voting process. I think it's
Okay.
a good thing, and it will increase participation. But I think it's an aspiration in a country where people have no addresses and there's no way to identify where they are. So I don't think that is feasible at this time, because where do you send the ballots? Do they have to go in physically to pick up their ballots, or do the election
No, the
commission
ballot.
have
If for
mail it to?
example, if for example, James Johnson was to go online and register, definitely all of my information would have been in the system. My address would be there. So if you, like for example, even in the US, if you're doing absentee balloting, they're going to mail your ballot to you anyway. So it's
Right,
just a
because you
matter
have an
of
address.
right,
You have
right,
an
because I have an
address.
address.
Right.
And so most of the people talk.
But in Liberia, you do not have an address.
Yeah, but Liberians are already in Liberia, so they cannot, except for maybe some obvious reason where somebody live from maybe Mosovado County and went to Grand Judy or Maryland County. But primarily, we're talking about the absentee balloting. We'll be talking about people across the border, right?
But why should it only be for people across the border?
No, the reason
Absentee ballot just
I'm saying that because of you talking about the address system.
right. But
The
absentee
address
ballot
system,
just mean voting without being physically present. So if
present, right?
people
That's
in the
right.
diaspora are to enjoy it, it should also be enjoyed by Liberians within the borders of Liberia.
I agree with
And
you. I agree with you.
that is not feasible at this time. So
I
I
agree
think
with you that
is what?
I said I agree with you. The
Right. So
absentee
it's not, I
balloting.
don't think the implementation is feasible at this time. I think it's a good aspiration in the Constitution, but the implementation at this moment will be difficult, because if somebody register online, the way the registration online is happening is that when you register online, you still have to come in physically before you can even get the
But
permission
that
to vote.
respectfully, let me say this: when the Constitution speaks, it should be respected. There's no issue of, we are predicting that in the future there will be, electricity all over the place. We'll have address system. When the Constitution says absentee balloting, you can vote in person or by absentee balloting, is a mandate given. So the aspiration you're talking about is just like some of the incompetent issues, some of the things that people take for granted. Because if the Constitution says you must move from A to B, it means you must move. You must do this. You must do it.
And
So
what
the
if you don't
aspiration,
have the if you don't have the physical or the financial capacity to do it? Then what?
and that is why people make preparations that are couple. We should not be giving excuses every time. The Constitution is the only living creature that we have that should not be disrespected anyway. The issue of saying no money, no money, if the people have factored this thing into election, they would have had it achieved. But how many of the leaders in Liberia are even thinking about that? Is it difficult to do?
May I come in?
Yeah, George Moore.
Yes. I want to give a story first before
A
I
short
go
story. Time
into.
is fast spent.
Yeah, short story. When I was running in 2011 in Plivo Soroka district, the election workers allow my stepmom, who was blind, to register. And they went to her room
Uh-huh.
and registered her. During the election, they refused to do the same. So she
Wow.
did not vote for me. I believe she was going to vote for me. Now, absentee ballot.
Mhm.
We are here in the US. Does the Liberian government or the election commission know how many Liberians in the U.S.?
That's
They
a
don't know.
concern. That's a concern.
Do they know how many Liberians in the Ivory Coast, in Ghana, in Sierra Leone? They don't know. So it's a slush gate. If you open it, that will lead to rigged election.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay.
So let it be like it is.
So you agree with Dr. Gopu, right?
Since 1986,
Mm-hmm.
why we have not corrected that?
That's an
Why we
issue.
have not done our work? Why the election commission has not been empowered to do their work outside of Liberia and within Liberia? Let's say you are sick. That's why I give my stepmom or as an example. You are sick. You cannot walk to the place to vote. You can file in your absentee ballots way ahead of time. But we
Right.
don't have it. So we are not prepared for absentees ballot.
Okay. With those words from the former chief operating officer of General Auditing Commission, and the environmental engineer, even though our water system here, we're getting messages every day of the
We are
problems.
working on it. We are working on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
You need to.
We say it's safe now.
All right. So, Dr. Gopu, can you give us a closing comment on these issues?
Yeah, I think that elections are supposed to help build the country. They're not supposed to
Right.
be used as a tool to bankrupt the country. And currently, I think we're spending so much money already on election.
Okay.
And I wonder sometimes whether these elections are really helping to move this country forward. Because the election commission, I hear they ask for $90 million. And some of the ways in which they're using this money, this whole voter registration process, to me, I've seen a lot of redundancy. For example, they tend to re-register everybody in every election. So think about it.
Okay.
Why do we need to re-register Ellen Johnson Sirleaf or re-register, Prince Johnson? What have you? What have changed about these people? It never changed their addresses, nothing of the kind. But you just got a system that says when you go into election, you re-register everybody. And so you ask for more money to do all of these things. This is not happening in other countries. They tend to register new voters and people who move from one place to another place. But in Liberia, we're not doing it that way. So we're just spending a lot of money on election. So we got to think about the welfare of the country. While elections are important, we have to find ways to make those elections fair, transparent, and also efficient. So we cannot say that whatever the Constitution says in terms of this, this absentee ballot is something that we should provide a funding to make sure it happening now, when in fact we do not have address system, and then that again could open a huge opportunity for fraud. So I think that it's been a good conversation. These are the kinds of issues we should be discussing. Civil society should get involved, especially with respect to the issue of the software system. Those who are registering the system, I think, assume that they're registering into one system. It should not be multiple systems. It should not be multiple files that are not integrated.
Right.
Providing opportunity for one person to register multiple times, and so that should be the benefit, part of the benefit of a biometric system. But again, the difficulty in the system is due to the bigger question of poor governance, incompetence, and the problem of corruption. And that is part of the reason why, as president, I will make sure that we build systems that minimizes the problem of incompetence, and that also make the system to avoid the opportunities for corruption and inefficiency. So I want to thank you for inviting me tonight for us to discuss this. I hope the discussions continue. This has informed me, and I will be in touch with my supporters and other opposition leaders so that we can look deeper into what is happening at the National Election Commission. Thank you.
All right, that is good. Gopu, thank you so much, Mr. Numo.
Well, I don't have the opportunity like Dr. Gompu to say as president, but I would say as maybe that's why I'm not wearing my glasses tonight. As person who can read a fine print, I feel that the opposition, civil society organization, the journalists, lawyers, everybody is on moving on the wrong footing. They need to put their act together. The election will be rigged at the time the voter registration is over. People need to put their differences aside and work together. Like
Right,
some groups try to do about the census issue. The voter registration, uh, the people are ready. You saw the election in Lofa. I feel that CDC did not win that election. But because the opposition was not together, they were not speaking with one voice.
right,
When the CDC candidate won, opposition or started fighting among themselves. Oh, you should allow us. No, then we are going to. Yes, that is the same thing that is going to happen. We are people. They are not stupid. They know the Liberian people. Somebody called them Coca-Cola, and Samuel Doe called them, man, say, do back, and that's it. So that is the Liberian people. The issue come up, they talk about a few days, and it is over.
right, right,
But I feel that this government is prepared to rig the election. And I won't say if we are not careful, because we are not already careful. If we continue to
okay.
behave the way we are behaving, this election will be won at the end of the voter registration. I thank you.
Okay, Mr. Numo, those were the voices of Mr. George Numo and Dr. George P. Gopu. And we want to say that's how we come to the close of today's edition. We've been discussing the National Elections Commission, talking about the electoral process, the biometric system, absentee balloting, and why the national government did not ensure that there were electoral districts demarcation. So the rest is with you. You can have your say, make your comment, or meet your political leaders. Perhaps you can give them your pieces of advice and they can also move ahead with their agenda. Until then, thank you so much and have a pleasant and a wonderful day. I want to say thanks to our discussants. That was good of you, Dr. Kopov. You always come to our invitation. We want to say thank you so much. Mr. Numbo, we want to say thank you for always honoring our invitation to have these issues discussed. For the betterment of Liberia, we say thank you for always looking, even though you are far away, you should be resting yourself, but yet came from where you say, well, I have to discuss Liberia, and that's all that we all have. Thank you so much, and have a pleasant and a wonderful good night and good day for those of you who, no matter where you are. So thank you, and have a pleasant and a wonderful day.
We deliver